Hey guys, welcome back to the Trace Trades YouTube channel. I'm KM, and I'm just really quick gonna go through what I'm watching for this week, and it's the week starting October 26th. So this is our last full week before election, so it's really not the week to be starting any large positions, maybe any positions at all. We'll see how the week progresses, but from what we're seeing right now on Monday, broad market's looking pretty weak. So we're gonna take that with a grain of salt, obviously. And as we sort of go throughout this week, I'm definitely gonna be looking more at day trades rather than swings, just to take that overnight risk out of the equation. So to get right into it, we got our little watch list right here. First, we have ABT. We hit this not only for this nice little resistance break last week, but we also hit it for earnings. So that was a nice 2-winner, but now it's actually forming this nice little wedge on the daily. So as it sort of squeezes closer into this range, we might see a nice pop off towards the end. And the fact that it's just green today, while broad market is not doing as well, is another indicator of relative strength. So this is definitely something to keep an eye out on. Next we have ATVI. This we've been in for a little bit of a while. I really do wish that we didn't have election or stimulus news affecting the market, because if we didn't, we'd probably see ATVI a little bit higher right now. It's just stalling a bit because broad market is stalling. But if you look at these wicks down here, if we zoom in, these wicks on these most recent candles are just getting bought up every single time it dips down here. So the more that we hold this support, the more confident I am that we'll break to the upside. Now we also do have earnings coming up on the 29th. So that's also something to keep an eye out on. Holding through earnings is extremely risky, so we're going to have to reevaluate once we get there. But as for right now, I'm definitely going to be holding the contracts I have up until earnings. Next we have BIDU. So we already hit this for this nice massive wedge break here. Those contracts went for, I think, 300%, depending on what you got. But now we're seeing this nice little range tightening here. And if we switch our time frame to, say, the 4-hour, it might be easier to see. But you're seeing this nice little consolidation period. And what that means for BIDU is once we finally break this range to the upside, we're going to see a nice little move back to these all-time highs here, up to about 147, 150 area. Because this would be a very strong breakup here. And as this sort of consolidation phase develops, we might see another wedge form in this sort of range here that we could play off of again. Or if we just want to buy the support down here, that's another option. Either way, again, just something nice to keep on watch. D-Dog is something else I'm looking at. Twillo reports earnings today, so D-Dog would be a nice sympathy move if they do end up doing well. And what's nice about D-Dog is we have this nice little support line here. Currently we did fall through it, so if we close below it, then obviously the play is invalidated and we're just going to take it off our list. But if we get a nice little boost, or if Twillo does well and D-Dog comes back above this nice little support level here, I'll definitely consider it for a long, just to get a nice little retrace to about this 107 area and maybe even 110 and 118. Futu is another watch I have here. We got this nice little wedge forming here, break, and then a couple retests. My only worry about this is the fact, again, that broad market is rather weak right now. But if we see some strength come back, or even if we just give it some time, wait until after the stimulus news is done, wait until after the elections are done, it looks like a nice long. And if we look at the options chain for Futu, they usually don't get a lot of action, but these November 35 calls have a solid amount of open interest in them. So again, just something else to keep on watch. If I do take a trade, it probably will be with those November 35 calls. But again, just a little bit worried about broad market right now. Want to see at least a little bit more direction being built in. And once we see that, I'll feel a lot more confident taking a long like this. Next we have Love, or Southwest. What we're seeing with Southwest is this little resistance line here has been tested 3 times. Now, we broke above on Friday, and we even closed above. So I thought today, if we saw some market backing, we'd see some nice little continuation above. We obviously didn't see that, so we failed a bit here. But we still do have this little support trend line that we could play off of. So probably going to wait for this to come back a bit, see what we could play off of on the support. Again, we are also in BA. so our airline exposure is kind of covered. But if BA is too expensive, too volatile, I think Love is a nice little substitute for that. Next, we're going to talk about Nike. What's interesting about Nike is it's actually showing a decent amount of weakness. So as you can see, like, we had this nice little earnings gap. We've been consolidating in this range. What's weak about it is we broke above highs here, and we just instantly failed to hold. And it happened again. We broke above highs here, and we failed to hold. Now, when you fail to hold higher highs, that just means that momentum's dying. That means that the stock is experiencing relative weakness. So as we sort of see this develop more, I'm guessing we're just going to see it trade within this range. But if we close below this little support line here, that's probably going to invalidate the play for me. I'll probably just give it some more time to form a little bit more pattern to it, a little bit more structure. But if we see a nice little boost, come back above the support line here, again, we could put it back on the list for watch and maybe for a break above this resistance up here. Next I have pins. Pins isn't really a play we're going to be taking, especially with the price action today. I really just have it on the list to sort of talk about. Last week we had this nice little wedge form here, nice pop above, massive gap up on snap sympathy, and we push all the way past 52. We made highs even today of almost 54. So pins is definitely a stock that I'm going to be trading a lot more. My price target for this is like 60 in like the midterm, so probably by the end of the year. But again, we'll see. Pins is pretty market dependent, so if we start seeing weakness just in overall assets, pins is also going to show weakness. So again, we'll wait to see how that plays out. QQQ, I'm going to leave that for the end along with SPY and TLT. I'm going to talk about that in sort of a broad market perspective. Spot, again, I just have this on here to review. We saw this nice little wedge last week, caught the break and a nice little boost up here. Excellent trade, excellent trade. Even in these times of sort of uncertainty in broad market, you can still find these plays that are still pretty textbook, still pretty easy to work with. And lastly, as far as individual names go, we have Walmart, which is actually forming this nice little wedge here. Again, broad market's kind of dictating things right now, but as far as individual names go, Walmart has a solid pattern that we could play off of. Again, I'd probably wait till we're a little bit more defined in broad market, but as far as price goes, price right near the support right here, the risk reward isn't too bad. Again, I'm just waiting for a broad market to show some sort of structure. So to talk about broad market, SPY and the Qs look very, very similar. Both of them have this nice little cup and handle pattern. Cup, handle. Now today, this little candle at the end here, that's kind of an outlier, because I was really expecting the Qs to sort of coil here, maybe see some more sideways movement, and then start to come back up. But it looks like the market is at this sort of inflection point where there's so much uncertainty in what's happening with elections that even larger traders, institutions, don't really want to be taking on any additional risk. So that's where you're sort of seeing this sell-off come here, and of course on SPY too. And what's interesting with TLT is we have this sort of falling wedge here, and on Friday we boosted back up into it, sure, but we saw a nice little gap up today. So what that tells me is like more people are buying into these bonds, and as QQQ and SPY start to fail, TLT is going to go up more. And what we're sort of looking at for TLT is a possible retracement to this sort of supply zone that we have up here. It's sort of acting like as a magnet. You start down here and we dipped, shot right back up. Dip again, shot right back up. So this sort of area here is what I'm going to be targeting if we do start to fail again post-elections. And just to talk really quick about elections, again, I really don't think this is the time to be taking on additional risk. Usually when risk is high, asset prices are lower, but the sort of situation we're seeing right now is asset prices are actually pretty high relatively. So when asset prices are high and uncertainty is high, it's really not the best time to be getting into anything, really not the best time to be taking on risk, because you're paying additional premium for something that you don't really need. And to talk more about elections again, if you're on the younger side like me or like most of our members, You could sort of tolerate the risk of holding through elections, but if you are an older age group, like I talked to my parents about this, there's really nothing wrong with taking off some risk, especially in your long-term accounts. We just saw the market tank like 30% back in March, and we had to watch it come all the way back up. So if you don't really want to tolerate that going into elections, I'm thinking we see about like a 5% move either way, 4 to 6% more accurately. So in my opinion, if Trump wins, we see a 4% move to the upside, and if Biden wins, we see a 4 to 6% move to the downside. And again, that has nothing to do with my political beliefs. That just is what I'm seeing in the market. So just to go over last week again, we had some nice little earnings lottos that we hit. I did some research into Netflix, Snap, and Texan, and we were able to hit all those for solid wins. And yes, that's really all I'm looking at for this week. But if you guys have any questions, again, our chat room's always open. If you're not in the chat room, check the description of the video, and I will see you guys next time.